Hello, Hockey World. It is Friday, May 2nd, 2025.
I'm Luke Ravitz.
And I'm Chris Shalish.
And I'm Eklund, and you're watching HockeybuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you during the week on random days, but usually Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays for now. And we're going to make it back to 5 days a week soon as well. I'm talking to you from what I call the rumor room today, which is not my normal set, but let's actually have some spicy rumors for the end of the show. So that's a little bit of a teaser. But we're going to first get into so funny. The blog I wrote yesterday was it's all about how nervous you'd be going into a day like that when you have 4 game sixes and all the 8 fan bases that are just when the hell is the game going to start type thing, it's got to come now. And I think they all kind of went they went as they were supposed to, basically, even though Minnesota gave a good battle, right? But we'll talk a little bit about the series that are coming next. I think that's the best way to do it. We have 3 of them. So let's start with Toronto. So it's going to be Toronto and Florida. Mm-hmm. And this is they met each other before. A Panther obviously destroys leaves in its path. So if the actual mascots of this is Panthers mark their territory in the forest. So this is a no-brainer as far as that goes. But as far as the teams go, Chris, let's start with you. What do you think?
I was really impressed with Florida's first round. Tampa Bay was actually in all of my brackets. Tampa Bay was my champion, right? I was expecting some fatigue out of Florida. It didn't come. I mean, maybe it will in the later rounds, but they looked phenomenal, start to finish. I mean, they dominated what I thought was the team that could win the Cup in the Tampa Bay Lightning. Just a star-studded lineup, and they pretty much shut them down. They made Vasilevsky look like Stuart Skinner at times. And I just think that Florida has what it takes to push past Toronto here. Toronto did not. The Canadian people get mad at me for that one.
Yeah, Toronto
definitely did not impress in round 1. And what I thought was a weak Ottawa team that maybe could steal a game. They stole 2. It took Toronto 2 overtime games to get a couple wins. So not impressed at all. I'm going to go again with this one. You got to look like it's going to be another easy one for the Panthers, which sets up nicely because they played a lot of hockey. I would say it's like a 5, maybe easy 6-game series in Panther favor.
Okay. All right, Chris. Luke, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Chris is spot on with that. I think Florida is definitely the better team. I thought, as well with Chris, I thought Tampa was going to kill them in the series just with some of the injuries that were going on. Ekblad was still returning. I mean, he just got suspended again, which is kind of funny. But, I just thought Florida was just way ahead of the whole series. Every game you knew it was going to be a tough battle for Lightning. And we just saw after they just got eliminated, they had to deal with a lot of injuries going on with a lot of their key players.
Yeah.
And as far as Toronto goes, they have a whole nother step they can get to, and they just weren't there. Matthews finally scored on the power play for them. It was their first postseason. It was their first power play goal with in a potential closeout game. So they haven't had one in 31 tries. So they finally got that power play goal. Stolarz has been fine. I just don't think he's a experienced playoff goalie and an experienced starter in the NHL. And then you have Bobrovsky, who is probably playing the best goaltending in the world right now. So it's going to be a tough challenge for the Leafs. I also agree. It'll probably go 5 or 6 for the Cats.
Yeah, all right. Okay. I'm going to be on some of the same and some different. So my thinking here is that the one thing that's really intriguing to me is that Stolarz was Florida's backup goalie last year. So if you're the backup goalie of a team, you face the shooters all the time. And so that I don't ever know who that works better for. I'm not sure if that's the goalies know the shooter tendencies or the shooters know the goalies' tendencies. What have you found, Luke, in your time playing?
I mean, I'm a forward, so I'm going to be a little biased. I think it helps the players. I think it helps the players out a little bit more. I feel like the goalies have so much going through their mind at the moment, and I don't know. So, and the players, they know the weaknesses of every goalie that they've played with. So, we'll see if they use that to their advantage.
They're definitely going to. They're going to try to. That's a no-brainer, right? You're in that spot, and I'm happy for him because I grew to like Stolarz when he was in Philly for a brief period of time. It was funny last night when they were going through the the Ottawa Toronto game. They got to like Giroux and Stollers, and they talked to. I saw them shaking hands, and they were like talking to each other and like giving a hug, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know why they know each other so well." And I'm like, "Come on, they played together." It's just like pay attention. I mean, I know I understand, but it's like that was a long time ago, but still. Yeah, I think the Panthers are in the zone. They have Tampa's number, so that's another thing. It's just like they're inside Tampa's head so far. I mean, Tampa tried to play run and gun with them. They tried to do their normal thing of playing like 1-2-1 games with them, and they can, Vasilevsky. They definitely know how to score on Vasilevsky. The Panthers do, which is the key, and they should know how to score on Stolarz. But he is a good goalie right now, and he's playing. He definitely is the best goalie the Leafs have had in the playoffs in a while. Like that's one thing I'll say. Like I really feel like he's going to make some big saves occasionally. He's not going to let in too many bad goals, at least.
The goal, I would say the goal that David Perron scored last night.
Yeah,
to tie the game.
Yeah,
it was a little soft goal, but I mean it happens. It's the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're never going to score like a pretty goal. They're always like the garbage put away goals in front of the net. So
when that happened, I was like, "Oh my gosh, here we go again."
Yeah, I remember you texted me. We were like, but I mean, the Leafs found Pacioretty put one in after he hit the post early in the first. So
how about that?
It's cool to see that. And then Nylander. One thing I did notice about the Leafs is like they really do study the goalies, and the first 2 goals that the Leafs scored, Olmark was cheating on both of them, and Matthews realized that, so that's why he went low left. And then on the Nylander first goal, he was kind of like closer to the left post, and Nylander saw the wide open net on the other side. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like, I mean, they're goal scorers, so they're going to know what to do and when to do it. So, and another key player that I really loved watching on the Leafs was Matthew Nyes. We talked about him earlier. He just seems like he's everywhere on the ice. He's always doing the right thing. And he's been a key factor since he's joined the club a couple years ago. And it's going to be a big contract year for him. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like I said before, Chris, I think that Matthew Nyes is like the Braden Point of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like I think that he's super important. He's sometimes flashy, but not always. He does everything right. He's American though, so he's American Braden Point.
Well, we need more of those.
Yeah,
absolutely. And speaking of, so let me finish the thing before I speak of Americans. So yeah, I think this series will be the Panthers to lose. I do think it'll be interesting to see if Toronto has this is at least the easiest they've won a series in a long time. Even though there were, like you said, there are 2 overtime games, and last night's game was for all intents and purposes an overtime game, right? So yeah, but that was also a team that Toronto hadn't beaten in the regular season very well. So they got through a couple ghosts at the same time. And Berube, I think, is the best suited coach they've ever had. So I think that there's definitely some things working in the Leafs' favor. If they get their confidence going, they could be better. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 game, but I do think that at the end of the day, the Panthers will just eat them alive. Like I really think that the Panthers can play any way you want. That's the thing about them. They can skate with the Leafs and play with the Leafs. They can hit better than the Leafs. They can do anything. So speaking of Americans, I wanted to bring up something that someone heard the other day and wanted me to mention it again, which is that none of the Canadian teams would be in the playoffs without American players. Shows out there. The reality of it.
That's true.
The reality of it. So let's go through this real quickly. The Montreal Canadiens. Caulfield,
Evans. Does Evans count?
Hudson, right? Lane Hudson. You're talking about 2 of the best 4 they have for the best defenseman right there, right?
Yeah. And then are we counting the Senators or
no? Yeah, no, we're getting the Senators. The Senators, Brady
and
their best player.
Pinto.
Right.
Who else? And then the Jets, you have Hellebuck, who's the best goalie in the league. Kyle Connor.
Best in the league in the regular season.
In the regular season, yeah. In the playoffs, he hasn't really correlated that together. Yeah. So
we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but so you're talking about so far the best player on Ottawa, the best player. I mean, some of the really
Leafs, the Leafs too.
Austin Matthews, right? So the best player on the Leafs, the best player on the Senators, 2 of the best players on the Canadians.
Yeah,
and then the Jets, obviously, they've got that, and then you go out to Calgary, and you've got their goalie.
Wolf. Yeah,
Wolf was their best player this year. He was their best player this year by far. Edmonton's the one that kind of falls apart.
Yeah,
Like, Edmonton's the one that
yeah.
I don't think. But then in Vancouver, you've got Quinn Hughes.
Hughes, yeah.
Who's the best player?
Not in Vancouver for long.
Yeah, no, yeah. They're going through a rough time right now.
Chris is currently negotiating a trade. He's a Devils fan. He wants to get them all together.
That'd be really cool. That'd be really cool.
He's our Devils writer. So yeah,
It will be.
And Chris has been predicting forever as a writer, and just as a person in general, that this was going to happen. That Quinn was going to end up in Jersey.
I thought. I mean, it's probably just the easiest scenario if Quinn just going. I thought there was maybe a chance the other two would maybe go to Vancouver, but like seeing where that's going right now, it's not looking too promising. And I mean, the Devils, they played their hearts out, but it was just tough with all the injuries. They'll be back next year, I'm sure. They got their team figured out now.
Definitely. I'm looking. I think they. And Chris has said it too, like that they didn't go for that. They didn't make the trades at the deadline that they would have made if they were healthy. Which is good because they didn't lose those assets. So those assets remain. So you can lose in the first round, not say we blew a couple first round picks to lose in the first round. You don't do that.
You know what else it also did? Instead of putting other guys in those situations, it told you a lot about who Timo Meier is. It told you a lot about who Nico Hischier is. These guys flourished. So, Jesper Bratt didn't show up on the score sheet much, but he played solid. Simone Nemec emerged as I think that was his I think this is his welcome to the NHL, I belong here moment, right?
Yeah.
So what it did, it made the guys on the roster show up and show what they could do, and didn't throw away those picks to maybe win a round. It just wasn't in the cards this year. We'll come back healthy next year. The good news is when you get reconstructive shoulder surgery, you're much less likely to dislocate it. So now Jack's had both of them done, so we should be smooth going forward, right?
Yeah.
Hischier also got snubbed from the Selke Award too.
They made it this year, but that can't go on forever. He's got to win a couple,
so
right?
Good. I mean, it's tough right now because Barkov he's probably going to win it every year, but I mean, Hischier's right up there with him.
Yeah, I think he's got about a 5 to 7 year window of being in that conversation, and it starts now. So.
Oh yeah. And Timo Meier, you're absolutely right, because I loved him in San Jose and I hated him in New Jersey until this happened. I thought I didn't understand. Really was a disappointment in New Jersey. I couldn't. So
you know what it is? Everyone looks at those 80 points that he scores out in San Jose, but he got those 80 points when he was something like a -40, right? He playing on a bad team, playing number one power play, ton of minutes. Here he's often on the second power play. He plays his off wing. But every single night, he does not complain. He comes here and he does his job and he plays hard and he never backs down from anything. And at times he does look snake bit, but he battles through it and he doesn't let it affect him. And he's always out there, always produces. When he's on the ice, the other team is not having a good time. They got to keep their head up. The goalies have to watch out. Everyone's under pressure with Timo Meier on the ice. So it's exactly the guy the Devils need.
Absolutely. I have friends out there in San Jose who were actually more upset with them trading Timo Meier than anything else that happened. They were like, they thought, that's the worst thing that could happen out there. So let's move on.
Sure. One more thing about Timo. I think it was 3 or 4 out of the 5 games in the first round he led the Devils in expected goals for. So, he's pushing that pace of play. Whether they go in or not is one thing, but, he's done.
That's impressive. And, you really did learn more about your team and you really are more than just Jack Hughes, which is important. And I think that's really important. Now, we'll go on to you, Luke, to lead us into the Carolina-Washington Capitals series. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, from watching both series play out, they both had to earn their series in a hard-working way.
Yeah.
Just looking at the rosters and how each team play, I just think the Capitals are just a little too much for the Canes. The Canes are a very skilled team, but they're also still on the younger side still a little bit. Yeah. You have a lot of veterans and experienced players on the Caps team that have done everything before. And, the trade deadline was a little weird for the Hurricanes. They had Ranson for a week or something. Yeah. And they got Stankoven, who's been very productive for them, but he's not Mikko Ranson, and he's not playing first line minutes. He's playing third, I think fourth line minutes even, maybe. Yeah. I looked. So I think it'll be 5-6 game series as well, probably 5. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Strome keeps developing, and he's been really, really fun to watch, along with Mangiapane. McMichael has been very good, exciting to watch. So we'll see. Aho has been very good for the Hurricanes recently.
Yeah.
And Jarvis, I love watching. Very skilled forwards they have. So we'll see. It's going to be a really fun series to watch.
I agree. Slavin is like ridiculous too. Like I didn't realize how good he was until the Four Nations, but when you watch he was one of the best players in the tournament, and you realize that he just does what he does in Calgary.
They should make an award for him for just overall defense. I mean, I think as a pure defenseman, he's got to be up there. I mean, you have and Hughes and
I've been a big component of that.
Very good defensemen, but they're a little bit more just offensively skilled. Slavin just stays to the D end and focuses on his job, which I really like.
I've always been a proponent of that. Like, we have a best defensive forward. Why don't we have the best defensive?
Yeah, I agree.
How many of those would Scott Stevens have won, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, it's crazy.
He really was I don't know how many times he was ever even a Norris, candidate. But if there was one from defensive defenseman, it would have been 15 years. He would have been in the run.
You had to put up like 80 points to be considered for the award, which is like, and those guys weren't very good defensively at all back then. The ones who put them 80 points back then, you're not like defensive at all. Another actually Selke guy that's coming really strong hard is Austin Matthews. Like his defensive abilities have this year have been phenomenal. Like he hasn't scored as many goals because of it, and he actually has really shown he's dedicated to it. And he doesn't lose a puck battle in his own zone.
I was forced to listen to the radio broadcast last night for Toronto. And Austin Matthews, they were talking about how he was on there, to end the game. And 2 years ago, they would never think about putting him out there, with a lead to hold it. And now he's the guy, so pretty impressive.
That's super impressive. I know. So what are your thoughts on so we need a prediction five or so for Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris, what do you got?
We lost that. So
Washington,
Carolina, Washington. I think it's Washington. If you look what Carolina did against the Devils, I really wasn't impressed. The Devils didn't pressure them much. The goaltending didn't have to do too much. I'm going to say Caps could probably win that one in 5. 2 deep teams, so crazy things can happen.
Yeah.
But I think the Caps will definitely pressure better.
Yeah.
Did we lose them? Are we here?
No, I'm here. We got you.
Luke, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We got you.
So I'm looking at a Caps in 5, and you know what? The NHL needs that because we can't have the Carolina Hurricanes going any deeper. That's a ratings nightmare. We need that cap to keep going up.
I would like to see Ovi to win another cup as well. So
I think that's what everyone's looking for, right? He should be the one hoisting the cup at the end of this year, riding into the sunset with the goal record,
that'd be awesome.
Cup, and that's it.
The NHL would love it too.
Yeah, the NHL, and like I said, with those, the ratings would be through the roof. I think that's a win-win there.
And then he would leave the NHL and go over and do what he's eventually. What's
the next series? Tonight we have St. Louis. Oh, here we go. The host is back.
Okay, I don't know why I went to you. So what we have next going on here is moving on. I'll talk about Washington, Carolina for a second. So Washington, Carolina to me is a little bit closer than you guys think, and this is the only reason I feel that way. The Devils actually, I felt going into the series, were actually better matched than people thought against Carolina, because Carolina is all speed all the time, and they are very much, and New Jersey is too. They both play that. They play fast games, and of course, not having Hughes is it loses some speed. But the reality is, Carolina. I watched a game in the middle of the season, 2/3 through the season. For some reason, I watched the entire Carolina Washington Capitals game. Just it was the only game on that night or something like that. And the Canes smoked them. They just took them to town because they were so much faster than them, and Washington looked old. And in that game, Washington really looked old, and and it wasn't like Washington had wrapped it up yet. It wasn't like they were completely not playing it. It was 2/3 way through the season, so that was an eye opener for me. Now, however, Carolina's goalie's hurt again, which is not a big surprise. That's an issue, I think, because Anderson is good. Usually I'm a real weird fan with him. He's a real weird for sure. I don't know what to make of him, and I think the guy they have in there now is better. But the reality is, the team seems to play better in front of Anderson. So, I'm going to say 7, and I'm going to say Carolina. Which is, and just because I think that they are fast and quick, and they are actually and the Capitals. When in the game I saw, the Capitals literally didn't know what to do with them. So and I'm just going off that one game I know, but it was two teams matched up. So who knows? Who knows? But that's the one team that's the one thing I know. And so we have another series yet, or is that the only two we have for sure?
I think those are the only two that are confirmed because I mean the Knights won last night. They don't all the other teams in the West are still battling it out.
Yeah.
And then who's still left in the East? It's the is there any, no, there's no one left in the East. Right?
That's all set. Yep.
Yeah, that would be just went over.
Yeah, so the West is not.
The 2 more games left in the West then.
Right. So who think is going to come through? Do we think Winnipeg and the Knights are going to come through? I guess is the question. Luke?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Winnipeg, Vegas for sure. It's just the Blues are very good. So I think they could go to 7 because Scheifele is also announced he has a undisclosed injury, so he will not be playing. And I think they called up Braden Yeager, who was a part of the Rucker McGroarty trade, if you guys remember.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to make his NHL debut if he ends up getting the call up. But is the game's in St. Louis, correct?
This one is in
because
game 6 St. Louis.
This is game 6 in St. Louis.
So I mean, I really have no idea what to expect tonight. If I'm going to be honest with you, I could definitely see the Blues winning tonight, and then Winnipeg going back home game 7 and winning. But the Jets just for some reason just don't close in the playoffs. It's just
this is
good every year in the regular season, but you never get the job done.
This is a nerve-wracking game for Winnipeg fans. This is like they've been down this road, and this was the best team they've had. Like they've always had good teams, but this is the best. What are your thoughts, Chris, on Winnipeg or Vegas?
I like the consensus pick. I like Winnipeg. I like Vegas. The Winnipeg thing is a little sketchy because it really hinges on Connor Hellebuck doing what he has to do, and I'm not so sure.
Your car behind you there, Chris.
Yeah. We're heading to the rink for the game now. Into the rink. But I like Winnipeg and definitely like Vegas as well.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I agree with you. I think that's the way it's going to go as well. I don't think, but I do. Part of me, like the hockey part of me, has been watching hockey forever. Says St. Louis is going to win. It's just like that thing. That's the thing.
Really cool.
That's just the thing that happens. Like in hockey. Like this is setting
Hellebuck
up for
he has to show up here. This is all on him.
Yeah, it's all on him. And but St. Louis is a good team. That's the thing about it. Is like they're not getting they're not out there playing against no offense the Devils. They're playing against the Blues are a really good team.
Is there an update on Holloway? Is he still out?
Don't know.
I mean, since the second half of the year started, he really, really started playing well with the Blues team, and it sucks he got hurt right before the playoffs.
I'm sorry, we were wrong. I thought Oilers and Knights are set, right? That's what they're saying in the chat.
Yeah, that's it. Oilers got it last night.
I'm sorry. I
forgot with the Oilers.
Okay, so the Oilers and Knights are set, so the Knights are winning that anyway. All right.
You think the Knights are going to beat the Oilers?
That's a good one. I'm going to say yes. I think the Oilers goaltending will not be able to play with the Knights offense. That's I mean, and the Knights and the Kings are very similar teams, kind of, but the Knights are better, and I think the Knights have more attack and more defense, and definitely more defense, and maybe better. See, I'm not an Aiden Hill fan. That's the one guy. That's
goaltending situations are just weird. It's like you don't know what you're getting out of them at games.
Yeah, I mean, I would take Aiden Hill over the other two goalies for sure. Yeah, but Cal Picard should not be the guy that's driving you to the Stanley Cup Finals. He's a good guy. He's consistent, but he's and Skinner's gone. He's mentally gone from what I've been told. So they're not going to go back to him. And the team doesn't trust Skinner, and the team likes Picard at least. So that's a mess. But I think I don't think it ends here. I think it ends here for the Oilers. I do. I think this is Vegas in 6. That's what I'd say.
I like that.
What are your thoughts, Chris, on that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Vegas. The goaltending, like you said, you have Calvin Picard in right now. Yeah. It's just goaltending in the NHL, especially in playoff time. It's just not what it used to be. Guys they're not used to playing 3, 4, even 5 games in a row. There's no Brodeur, Belfour, Hasek, Waugh. These guys are not there. They can't handle the workload. So now a guy who's only played maybe 3 or 4 in a row all year, now you're asking him to play 16 to 20. It just doesn't quite. I mean, if you look all the big names in goaltending, if you go look at the goals against for the playoffs, the number 1 and 2 guys are the 2 Carolina guys that the Devils played because they couldn't really generate much offense. Then you have other guys like Hellebuck, a few guys, handful of guys over 5 goals against. So it's pretty ridiculous how goaltending is these days. It's like you almost have to use the tandem in the playoffs, but when is a good time for it?
Yeah. I mean, it's the speed of the game, and it's the talent, and it's the way the game is being called too, because the refs are letting a lot go, so everything's happening. They're letting a lot of picks go. Like there's a lot of interference I'm watching that I'm seeing that are just being not called, and that's
that play when you're coming down the wall in the neutral zone and you chip a puck by a D-man.
Yeah.
They just put their hand right in your chest, and that's like never called. Isn't that like textbook interference? I mean, I know you can skate in the way, but they get they basically stop you in your tracks. It's like a stiff arm. That has to be if you want the game to speed up. You got to let that go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Luke?
No, I was just gonna say I agree, and I saw someone in the comments say Picker just has to be not awful, and I actually agree with that. I feel like as long as he plays fine, they should be fine, because I mean it's been like that the past 5 years in the playoffs for the Oilers. They've never really had like a consistent star goalie. They had Mike Smith, I think, a few years ago.
Yeah, he was another mess. Yeah,
it's just weird. I also agree, by the way. I think Knights are going to win in 6 or 7, but it's kind of hard to pick against the Oilers when they have 2 of the best players in the world on their team, and it's kind of like you can't really count them out, because we've seen like last year where he was down 3-0 in the cup and almost won the Conn Smythe after losing. So I'm excited for that series. They have a few pretty good rivalry from the past couple of years, so it'll be exciting to watch.
I mean, in this game, if you watch the first 2 games of the series, you thought the Kings were going to roll. That was completely. So and then all of a sudden, man, the ghosts of the Kings against the Oilers now is a really big deal. It's always been a big deal, but now we're talking like 4 years in a row.
Yeah, they also got Kane back too, so he's been.
Yeah, they got Kane back and he scored finally. Yeah, so this is but you got. But I think they've got a lot of like very iffy defensemen. Like Bouchard's a great forward, a great scoring defenseman, but he's just horrendous in his own zone, and he's horrendous in the mid in the neutral zone too. And I don't think the Kings attacked him enough. Like I thought they should have gone more after him and made him make mistakes. But yeah, Klingberg actually looked pretty good, which is pretty great. I thought he was because him coming off an injury, and then last year and last year in Toronto he was kind of like but he looked definitely different. I thought he was a lot better. So I mean I'll go. Like I said, I'm going Vegas. I think it's Vegas. It just is because.
Yeah, they have the depth. In the end, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's all about depth, right? It's like a next man up mentality. You do have Draisaitl, you do have McDavid, but that kind of a thin roster, especially compared to that of Vegas. Vegas is as deep as it gets.
Yeah, I mean Eichel's ridiculous.
He scored finally yesterday for the first time this year.
He did. I know. So I got the funniest story that we'll go out on with about Eichel and McDavid. Oh, yeah. So. When players are going to get drafted and they bring them to the media, when you're covering the Stanley Cup final, there's like a day the coming up drafted players are around, and you interview them each. You have a chance to sit at the table with them for like a half hour each. So I got a chance to sit with McDavid and Eichel, and then they ride the bus back to the hotel with you from the media code. So we were in Chicago, and if you go from where that United Center is to the city, it's like taking the Long Island Expressway out to Montauk. It's like it takes forever to get there. So it's just stop and go. So there was and the NHL had the NHL Network, like some show that was like that kept putting on all these highlights, and it was only a half hour show, so we repeated like 1 or 2.5 times because we were watching the same thing, and behind me the whole time, McDavid and Eichel were sitting together, and Eichel is just busting on McDavid left and right, and he's like he would look up, he's like, oh, can you do that, Connor? Can you make that move? And then I was like, and Connor is so uncomfortable, like he is kind of uncomfortable, where McDavid is just a jerk, in a funny way. And I got to sit right in front of him and listen to this talk for like 2 hours, which was like the most amazing thing, having them going back and forth with each other. And I was just cracking up because McDavid was getting pissed, and you could tell. And then at the same time, Eichel wasn't letting down. Like, because when that play came around the next time we saw the video, he's like, oh, here's that play, Connor. Look at this is the play I want to know if you can do this. Can you do that? You know, of course you can do that. You can do anything, right? Big Tampa's not happy. So anyway, that's it for now. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will be back in some form on Monday because Monday is the lottery, the draft lottery. So that's gonna be fun. And I think from what I understand, the next rounds are going to start on Monday too. Regardless, it'll be the Eastern Coast Eastern rounds Monday. There's a small possibility they could start on Sunday night, but yeah, I think it's Monday. So yeah, and enjoy tonight's game and enjoy tomorrow's game. And remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Have a good day. We will talk